So yesterday we already got to Yoram and Aleph. We're starting in the middle of the discussion whether Ksuba is Daraisa or Darabanan. Trying to move the flowers. But so yesterday we were saying how it was Darabanan, and therefore because it was Darabanan, therefore the Chachamim essentially gave the power to the man to be able to claim Pesach Pasuach Matzasi, and we would believe him, in conjunction again with the Chazaka that he's not going to go through a wedding just to throw everything away, the next day, just in order to get back his Ksuba. So, but the Brisa continues, and we're starting probably about 10 lines from the top. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Ksubas Isha min HaTorah, that the Ksuba for a woman is actually D'Oraisa. Tosfos here just notes that based on the Gemara in Yevamos, we said what was the reason for Ksuba? It seems like my time at Takinu la Rabbanan Ksuba. It seems like the Rabbanan instituted Ksuba because again they didn't want to make it so easy for somebody to get divorced. But what's the problem? In the Ksuba, what word is written? Tosfos writes, it talks about chazu, kesef zuzi masan de chazu lechi midoraisa, which implies that it's midoraisa. That's what's written in the Ksuba. So how do you balance the two? So the different answers. Tosfos here seems to take the approach that it's doraisa and follow the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. There are other approaches you can take. Probably say it's Rabbanan, and for whatever reason it says doraisa in the Ksuba. Okay, but either way, the Gemara continues. Umi Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Hachi. Did Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel really say that Ksuba is D'Oraisa? Vehatanya. The Brisa teaches us Kesef Yishkol Kimohar Habsulos. So this pasuk is referring to the Mefate. Right? There's two people. If Mefate, if you seduce a woman to have relations with you, if you rape a woman to have relations with you, either way, you are chayav to pay. It's referring to, I think they're both referring to a katana. And therefore you have to pay both cases the father, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look at that again. I think that's the case. So either way, so what do we learn from there? Kesef yishkol kimoar habisulos, sheyehei zeh kimoar habisulos, umoar habisulos kazeh. The two are related to each other because with respect, Rashi tells us, Kesef yishkol b'mefate ne'amar. That's with respect to the mefate. Kimoar habisulos ha'amur me'anes es habisula. That's what's written regarding the me'anes. Kansu akasuv nun kesef, and then over there it tells you that he has to pay a fine of 50 kesef. Bishvil moar habisuleha, because essentially took away her virginity.
She actually loses 50 because if you're an Amona or a Gerusha, you only get 100.
No, but that's before the meaning. But they're not really married.
No, but she's going to get married eventually.
Oh, you're saying if she eventually...
She won't be a psula.
Well, far than we force the man to get... in some cases, we force the man to marry. So if it's the same man marrying her, then maybe... I'm not sure
she doesn't get to 50
what her status would be.
Right.
But yeah. So we compare the knas, the fine we give to the mefat, to the fine we give the ones. So it's 50 in both. Uma kesef ha'amur kan shkalim, and the money that has to be paid is shkalim, as written with respect to the mefate. Tichsiv yishkol afla halan shkalim. So with respect to the me'anes as well, it's going to be shkalim delo tema maos. So don't think it's another. No, I'm assuming there's a difference. I don't exactly know the difference in the currency, but I'm assuming maos and shkalim are going to be different currencies, or different weights, whatever it is. But either way, the chamishim, I think shkalim is going to be more. Okay, so what's the whole point of this? So the Gemara continues. So based on this, the Chachamim said that the Ksuba, the Isha, is from the Torah. Not so clear how exactly they learn it from this pasuk. Rashi here notes, Mikan samchu mitikari la mohar. Because it's called the mohar besulos, so that the indication there is deoraisa, and that's his claim over here. So, but the Brisa here continues. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Ksubas Isha Eina Midivrei Torah El Midivrei Sofrim. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel argues, and he says that Ksuba is Midivrei Sofrim. So that's a problem, because Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, initially we said, he was the opinion that said Doraisa. Now all of a sudden he's saying it's Divrei Sofrim. So how do we reconcile the two? So the Gemara answers, first answer, Ipuch, flip the Shitas. The second Brisa it's really Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is the one who says D'Oraisa, and Chachamim are the ones who say it is D'Rabbanan. So the Gemara asks, Umay chazis di afach basraisa epuch kamaisa. So we have two braisas which contradict each other, and we suggest to flip the shitas in the second brisa. So the Gemara asks, well, why are you suggesting to flip the shitas in the second brisa? Why don't you flip the shitas in the first brisa? The Gemara answers, Hashaminale, the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, de Amar Ksubas Isha min D'Oraisa. You know what? Because we have a third source, and the third source indicates that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds that Ksuba is D'Oraisa. What is it? This third source? The Tanan, the Mishnah teaches us in later on in Ksubos, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer nosein la mimaos kapotkia. You have to pay her money from kapotkia. So what's this referring to? If you look in Rashi, nosein la mimaos kapotkia, the Perak Basra Tanan, the Mishnah teaches us, Nasa isha be'eretz Yisrael begirsha bekapotkia. You marry your wife in Israel, then you move to kapotkia. So nosein la mimaos eretz Yisrael shehein kalos. You can pay her money from you can give her money for the ksuba based on the currency in Eretz Yisrael.
He married her in Kapotkia.
No, in that case, first case he married her in Israel, divorced her in Kapotkia. You can give her money from Eretz Yisrael, which happens to be the money in Eretz Yisrael is the lower currency.
Right.
Okay, you're moving from Canada to America. Where do you? So you have to pay your ksuba in Canadian dollars. Nasa isha bekapotkia. Let's say you marry her in Kapotkia. The girsha be'eretz Yisrael. So now you've gone the other way. So now you've gone from Kapotkia, where the currency is higher, to Eretz Yisrael. You still nosin la mimaos Eretz Yisrael. You can still pay her in the currency of Eretz Yisrael. Why? Minyan akasu b'ksuba dazlinan le kula, because ksuba we can be mekel when it comes to the payment of the ksuba. Why can we be mekel? Seemingly because it's derabanan. But the Mishnah there continues. So Shimon Gamliel Omer no sein la mimaos kapotkia. No, even if you move to Eretz Yisrael and divorce Eretz Yisrael, you still have to give her the currency of kapotkia. Shenishtabed bahen kishar milve. Because the same way, whenever you have a loan or whatever, and a lien on somebody's property, the loan is from whatever currency at the time of when you made the loan. That's you talk about a shibud d'oraisa. So too applies to the ksuba, that everything's going to be, if you have a shibud d'oraisa, it goes back to the time when the ksuba was written, and the time and the place where the ksuba was written. And since it's written in kapotkia, you have to pay her in that currency. The kasavar ksuba d'oraisa. So that indicates that ksuba is d'oraisa. So since that indicates ksuba is d'oraisa, we want to flip the shitas to have it consistent that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is always the shita who says ksuba d'oraisa. Mark continues. The by saying another answer. How to explain the contradiction? Kula Rabbi Shimon Gamliel he bechasori mechsera b'hachiktani. That everything is based on Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. That the whole second brisa is really all one opinion. It's all the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and we are missing some words, and this is how it should really be read. Mikan samcho chachamim l'ksubas isha min haTorah. From here, the chachamim learned that the ksuba for the isha is d'oraisa. Ksubas almana eina midivrei Torah ela midivrei sofrim. But the ksuba for an almana is only midrabanan. Which, if we're basing it on the pasuk of Kimoar HaBesulos, so it makes sense. Besulos referring to Besula, not somebody who's been married. Now, it's true you can have a case of an almana who's still a Besula. We'll see that in the next Mishnah. But nevertheless, so Ksuba of a Besula is d'oraisa. Maybe for the almana is only midrabanan. How do we know that? Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. His Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is the one who says Ksubas almana eina midivrei Torah ela midivrei sofrim, because the ksuba of an almana is not midoraisa, it is only midorabanan. So either we flip the shitas and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it's always doraisa, or again there's no problem because Rabbi Shimon Gamliel himself, when he says it's doraisa, it's referring to ksubas besula. When it says it's derabanan, it's referring to ksubas almana. Now we have a whole slew of stories of people coming to rabbis claiming either Pesach Pasuach Matzasi or claiming that there was no blood and what the outcome is. Hahu da'asa lekame de Rav Nachman. There was a man who came to Rav Nachman, Amar le Pesach Pasuach Matzasi, that my wife obviously was not a Besula. Amar le Rav Nachman, Asbuhu Kofri. So Rashi, what is aspu kofri? Hilkuhu malkios b'maklos chariel shel dekel. You should give him lashes, whip him with part of the date tree. Not only is it part of the date tree, but it's part of the date tree sheyesh bahen oktzin, which has thorns, kimin kotzin. There are thorns on this, so you really want to give him pain. And the Gemara in Sukkah tells us that's how you know that this part of the lula of the date tree can't be used as the lula, because for the mitzvahs have to be deracheha derechei noam, have to be pleasant, not pleasant to have thorns on there. So use that part of it and whip him. So why is he so upset with him? Mi barchasa chavitale. So what does that mean? So there's two, Rashi and Tosfos give two different interpretations. Rashi explains here, Zonos ha'ir hazos, so shema mi barchasa chavutos v'shochvos tamid lefanav. That it must be that all of the prostitutes of the city sleep with this man. How else can he be so certain to make a claim that the woman was no longer basula? It must be he has experience in the matter. How is he has the experience with the matter? It must be he's having relations with these prostitutes in the city, and therefore we have to give him lashes. Tosfos used it as a rhetorical question. Tosfos says, are you really sleeping with all these prostitutes in the city that you know? And what it means is, why it's giving him lashes? Because Tosfos says, Shemotzi Shem Ra Bas Yisrael, because he's speaking badly about his wife. So it's not that he's done anything wrong necessarily, but he's accusing his wife. And what right do you have to accuse your wife if you don't know any better? So those are two ways to understand.
You're based in trust in a man like this. He's doing things like this.
So that's the next line. What do you mean? Trust in what?
Just having to be made.
Well, we're going to see, because what's the problem? Rav Nachman, now the Gemara asks, Bahar Rav Nachman hu da'amar meheman. If you remember, Rav Nachman is the same shita who says, if you claim Pesach Pasuach Matzasi, it's Ne'man lahafsi ksubasa. So we believe her. So what do you mean? Rav Nachman is the one who says believe him. So why are we giving him lashes? So he says, no, the two are not mutually exclusive. Meheman. It's true. We do believe him, but how does he know? We still only knows because he did something wrong or whatever, or he still be whatever it is. It's more difficult with Tosfos, I think, explains. I have to go through it again, but with Rashi, the way you would explain it is, we believe him, but he still sins, so we're going to give him lashes. According to Tosfos, it's a bit more difficult because it's saying we believe him.
How do you still sin? What's the sin that you're lashing him for? For the zono?
Yeah. Yeah.
For the what?
For this verse, for sleeping with all the prostitutes in the city. According to Tosfos, you're going to read it a bit differently, but
in that case, if that's the
they go better than him. They're accusing him of something which is.
Why would we ever say that? Why would we ever ignore a guy who claims to be an expert in this? I mean, anybody who would come to say that the wife is a virgin, so then we'd always have to assume he knows too much. Every time. Why is this?
Yeah. Why is this claim only coming up here, and why does it not come up in other cases?
Or in all cases.
Because I don't know how much. I'm saying in terms of the believability. That's what we're saying. We're not sure how much the lashing him, because we still believe you, but he says we're going to give you lashes. So in terms of the ne'emanus itself, it's not going to affect it. Now maybe Rav Nachman was suspicious of this man before. I don't exactly know, or maybe that's why you can take Tosfos' approach and say no, he didn't do anything wrong, and he's just speaking poorly about his wife. But
that's the case where he's
a lot of
before,
questions.
That's the next answer.
Why would anyone let the daughter get married to a guy like this?
You're asking good questions. Just
go out in the world. You don't ask the question. Go ask the question about all.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, let's continue. So the Gemara continues with the second answer. Or of Achai Mishani, no, Kam B'bach or Kam B'nasui. So it seems this is actually saying that when it's somebody who's married for the first time, it seems like, we don't ever believe him. Or, not that we don't believe him, but then we're suspicious, and we're suspicious of him when he's a Bachur, because how should he know any better? If he's already been married, then he might know, he's already had experience in the matter, then we're not going to be suspicious that he's done anything inappropriate. Okay, that is answer. That sums up that story. Hahu da asal kami Rabbi Gamliel. So another man came to Rabbi Gamliel. Amar le pesach pasuach matzasi. Okay, Amar le, he responded, Shema hitisa. So maybe you angled it in a way that you were able to have relations without her losing her besulim, without her essentially using her hymen. This is, I think, it already came up a few DAF ago with Rav. That Rav was an expert somehow. He was Bekin, and whatever that means. So Rabbi Gamliel says maybe she was besula, and you just happened to do it in a way which she didn't lose her basulim. Thank you. Emshol l'cha mashal, and I'll give you a parable. Lama davar domeh. La'adam shayama alech be'ishun layla ve'afela. A man was walking around the pitch black, and he comes to a door. Hita. So if he comes at the right angle, because the door's open a little bit, so matzo pasua. We'll see the door's actually open. But I guess if he comes straight on, lo hita, so matzu na'ul, he'll find that it's really locked. Okay, that's answer number one. Ika da'amri hachi. Or perhaps it was a bit of a different response. Amar le shema b'mezid hitisa ve'akarta l'dasha ve'abra. So what is b'mezid hitisa? Rashi says b'miskaven uvekoach. So maybe you went in with a lot of force, and if you're going with a lot of force, and maybe you uprooted the house and the beam, i.e. that you were able to break it from the side, and it didn't really feel like, even though she said she did lose her basulim, it didn't feel like it. Same mashal. Lama davar domeh la'adam shu ma'alech be'ishun layla va'afela hita b'mezid matzo pasuach lo hita b'mezid matzo na'ul. Okay, next story. Hahu da'asa l'kamei darma gamliel bar Rabbi. Amar le Rabbi ba'alti v'lo matzasi dam. I had relations and there was no dam besulim. Amra lo, but the wife is here this time. Rabbi besula hayisi. She says, no, I was a besula. Amar lahem haviu li oso sudar. So bring me the cloth which you used to wipe yourself. Hiviu lo asudar. They brought it to him v'sharo b'mayim v'chipsu. So he washed it off. Umatza alav kamatipe dam. Damim. So essentially because he washed off the semen from the cloth, and it turns out that there were spots of blood underneath. So Amar lo lech zakei b'mechacha. Go take your acquisition, i.e. you can stay married to your wife, don't worry about it. So Amar le huna mar brei derava mipar zakia l'rav ashi. Ananami avid hachi. Oh, that's a great answer. If everybody ever has this problem, let's wash the cloth and see if it's there. Amar le, Rav Ashi responded, Gehutz shelanu ki kibus shelahem. Our gehutz is like their kibus. Our gehutz, it's almost like our ironing almost. Our higher level of cleaning is like their lower level of cleaning. So v'i amart ne'avid gehutz, fine. So let us do gehutz, and then we'll see if there's dam left on there. So we say no. Me'abrele chumrasa. The way to do giyutz is to take a stone, a hot stone, whatever it is, and rub down the piece of the clothing. So when you do that, you're going to remove everything, and it will remove the blood also, and then it won't be effective. The next story, how da'atza l'kami d'Rabbi Gamliel bar Rabbi. Amar le again, Rabbi ba'alti v'lo matzasi dam. I didn't find, there was no dam besulim. Amar le, and she responds, Rabbi adayin besula ani. She says, no, I'm still a besula. Amar lahen, haviu li shtei shvachos. Bring me two slaves. Achas besula, ba'achas beula. One who's a virgin, one who's had relations before. Hiviu lo, they brought them to him. Vehoshivan al pichavis shel yain, and he sat them upon a barrel of wine. Beula, reicha no Dave. He smelt the breath of the one who had relations before, and her breath smelled like wine. Besula ein reicha no Dave. We're very scientific in their days, and the besula, they didn't smell the wine. So what was the idea? The idea was if she had a Pesach Pasuach, so then it would able to travel through her body up to her breath, and her breath would smell. If she was still a Besula, it wouldn't smell. So I
remember this story.
These
stories you don't forget.
Your wife.
There's a lot of things this Gemara shouldn't discuss with your wife. Afzo Hoshiva v'lo haya recha no Dave. So then he asked this girl to sit on there, and her breath didn't smell, so she was still a besula. So Amar lo leksa came mechacha. It's okay, you can remain married. V'nivdok meikara bigava. Why do you have to bring in the whole servants to do that? Why didn't he just test her right away? And So Gemara hava shmiale. So he heard this hypothesis. He heard about this experiment, but ma'ase lo hava chazi. But he'd never actually done it, so he didn't know if it was for sure going to be effective. So v'savar diama lokim le bigava. The milsa shapir v'lav arach ora lezizuli b'nos Yisrael. He was scared maybe it wouldn't work. And if it wouldn't work, maybe it'd be a bit disgraceful to the girl, so he'd rather do that to these slaves than to do it to this Bas Yisrael. But ultimately, his experiment worked, and therefore he proved that the girl was still a basula.
Always works. It always smell nice.
It'll smell like wine, though.
Slaves that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they were. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but yeah, it's I don't know. Hahu da asal kami Rabban Gamliel azakein. Another story. Amar lo Rabbi, ba'alti v'lo matzasi dam. Amar lo. She responded, Rabbi, mishpachas Dorkati ani. We saw that in Rashi yesterday. She says, I come from the Dorkati family. She'ein lahem lo dam nida v'lo dam besulim. And the woman from the Dorkati family don't have nida blood, and they don't have dam besulim. They have nothing. Badak Rabban Gamliel b'krovoseha. Rabban Gamliel inspected, is that true? So he did some investigation. Umatzakid varav said, yeah, it was true. A woman in the family didn't have any blood. So obviously his claim doesn't mean anything because she's still basula, but she doesn't have blood. Amar lo lech zakei b'mechacha. Okay, can keep her. He concludes, Ashrecha shezachisa lemishpachas Dorkati, and praised are you that you merited to marry into the Dorkati family. So my Dorkati, what does Dorkati mean? So it stands for Dor Katua, a generation which is cut off. Why is it cut off? We'll see, because the fact that she doesn't have blood makes it much more difficult for her to have children. So I don't know if that means literally, or maybe the sign of no blood maybe affects her ovulation. I don't exactly know, what the Gemara intends by this, but either way, having blood is a sign that you can have children. So, and therefore you'll be a generation that's cut off because the woman probably will not have children. It'll be difficult to have children. Amar Rabbi Chanina, Tanchumim shel Hevel nichmu Rabbi Gamliel also aish. Rabbi Gamliel gave this man, consolation which is worthless. Why? The Tani Rabbi Chia, Kishem shas seor yafel liisa. The same way yeast is good for the dough. Kach damim yafim liisha. It's good for a woman to have blood. B'tana mishum Rabbi Meir, kol isha shedameha merubin. If she has a lot of blood, but now merubin she'll have a lot of kids. So what? Why is he saying, oh, it's good that you married into that family? Why is it good? It doesn't seem so good. So Itmar. So it's a bit of an out discussion what exactly he said to her. Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar Zachei b'mekchacha Amar lei. So he said to him, Zachei b'mekcha, that you should merit in your acquisition. Rabbi Yossi bar Abin Amar Nischaye b'mekchacha. No, it's not necessarily a good thing. You're obligated in what you have. So Amar lei b'yishtei malamad Amar Nischayev. That makes sense. Hainu de Rabbi Chanina. That supports Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said it's not a good thing that she doesn't have blood, and this is supporting that. You're right. It's not a good thing. Ella lemanda Amar Zakei. My zechusa. What zechus is there? What zechus is there if she can't have children? Delo asi li de safek nida. What the zechus is? She won't ever come to be a safek nida. She doesn't have blood, so you never have to be concerned about safek nida. Hahu da asal kami the Rebbe, last story here.
Yeah, you won't have a son.
Neither of them, yeah.
Right.
Hahu da asal kami the Rebbe. Amar le Rebbe ba'alti v'lo matzasi dam, and she says Amar lo Rebbe adayin besula hayisi. Okay, same claims as before. Ushnei batzores hava. It was a year of famine, and they were both malnourished. Ra Rebbe shepneim shchorim. Rebbe said that their faces were black, that they were malnourished. Tzaveh alehem v'yichnisum lamerachat. Told them to wash off. V'hechilum, gave them what to eat. Hishkum, gave them what to drink. Hichnisim lacheder. They had relations again. Ba'alu matzadam, and it turned out that there was blood. Amar lo lech zachigei b'mechacha. And Kari Rebbe Alehem, and about them Rebbe said, Tzafad Oram al Atzmam, that their skin almost stuck to to themselves, Yavesh Hayaka ate, and their bones were dry as wood. And once they had nourishment, they were able to have blood. That's the. Is that supported by the doctors? I don't know. Okay, no. Mishnah. Mishnah here says Besula Ksubasa Masayim V'Almana Maneh. So again, if she's never been married before, Besula actually never been married, never had relations before, she's a virgin, then her Ksuba is 200. For an Almana, it is 100. Besula Almana V'Grusha Uchalutza Min Hairusin. But now also, not only that, but even if you're an Almana, if you're married or even if all these happen mina erusin, so you're only engaged, you never had married, and your husband dies, you get divorced, or you're a chalutza. So in all those cases, ksubasan masayim. In all those cases, you still get a ksuba of 200 because there's still a besula. V'yesh lahen tanas besulim, and if the next husband that they marry can then claim Tanas Besulim, I didn't find Besulim in this girl. They have that claim, again, because she's still a Besula. So now the Gemara is going to talk a little bit about...
Yesh lahen. Sounds to the girl. Should say lahem.
Yeah. Yesh, so actually, look in Rashi. Rashi says it's Yesh lahem, actually.
Thank you.
So I don't know if Rashi changed it. My almana. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some etymology. What is it? Why do we call it an almana? What's the source of that word? Amar Rav Chana Bagadita almana al shem maneh. Why is she called an almana? Because she gets a maneh or maneh. She gets $100 for her ksuba, so that's why they call her an almana. Okay, then the Gemara asks, almana min ha'erusin ma'ikal meimar, but not all almanas get 100. We said if you're an almana from erusin, you get 200. So how does that explain why we call her an almana? Okay, it's not a perfect system. So so probably the more common case is somebody becomes an almana once they're already married. So therefore, we're going to call everybody whose husband dies, we'll call them almana. Okay, now the better question, almana tichtiva beoraisa ma'ikal meimar. Okay, it also says the word almana in the Torah. So what are you going to say? But what are you going to respond to that? The asidin rabbana the mitakni lemana. Okay, they call it almana because they knew in the future that the rabbana would institute that for an almana she gets $100 almana for her ksuba. So the Gemara asks, Umi kasav krala asid.
What does it mean, the Rashi? We had this whole question on the previous stuff. Is the ktuba midorai? Tell me the rabbanan. If you say it's midorai, what's the question? It's the same dorai.
The assumption here, I think.
You say it's midorabanan. You say it was.
I think the assumption here is clear that it's rabbanan. Correct. I think that would be the assumption. So then the Gemara asks, "Mi kasav krala asid? Is the Torah writing based on what's going to happen in the future?" So the Torah does write what's going to happen in the future. Dichsiv v'shem hanar hashlishi chidekel hu haolech kin mas Ashur, referring to Gan Eden, talking about the rivers that flow out of there. So the third one flows by Ashur. V'tana Rav Yosef Ashur zo slika. That Ashur refers to the city of Slika. And then the Gemara asks, Umi Havai, and was Slika around in the time of Brias HaOlam? Ella de Asida. No, they wrote it based on what would be in the future. Hachanami de Asida. So to here right in the future. Now, there could be a distinction. I don't know the history of the city of Slika, but I don't know when they, again, because that happened in the time of Brias HaOlam, but the Torah was only written 2,500 years later. So the Torah often will talk about cities, and it will call it its name. Then at the end of the story say, you know why they called this city this name? Because this episode happened there. But then why are you calling the city from the beginning? But because the Torah is being, it was written down 2,500 years later almost. So I don't know when Ashur. So it could be when the time the Torah was written, Ashur was in existence. When the time the Torah was written, I don't think they instituted the mana for the almana yet. So I don't know if it's a perfect proof, but either way, the Gemara here is assuming they could write for what's going to be in the future. Okay, now once we're on to Rav Chana Bagadita, we have to learn some more of his Torah. Ve'amar Rav Chana Bagadita matar. So water can do a lot of things. It's mashke, it irrigates. It's miraveh, I think saturates the land. Mizabel, it fertilizes. Me'adin, makes it nice. Mamshich, and allows things to grow. Amar Rabba bar Rabbi Shmuel b'itema royem or bar Shlemia Maikra. What's the pasuk which supports this idea? Tzlameha raveh nachas gedudeha birvivim temogegenat samcha or tzmacha simcha. Thank you. Tvarech. A pasuk in Tehillim referring to its furrows will be saturated with water, and the rain will flow in there, and everything that grows from there will be blessed. So Rabbi Elazar likes this type of statement, so he comes up with his own. Mizbeach. The Mizbeach also can do a whole bunch of things. Let's start with the mem. Meziach, mezin, mechabev, mechaper. So meziach means it almost moves, it dislodges something. Mezin is it causes us to have food. Rashi tells us because you give the korbanos, and through that Hashem blesses us with food. It makes us love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mechabev, mechaper, it atones for our sins. So hainu mechaper, hainu meziach, it's the same thing. Aren't they both referring to the fact that it removes your sins? No. Meziach gezeros, it removes evil decrees against the Jewish people, mechaper avonos, but it atones for the sins of the Jewish people. Okay, back to Rav Chana Bagadita. Ve'amar Rav Chana Bagadita, tamri, dates, mishachnan, it warms up the body, misavan, it fills the body, mishalshalan, it gives you nice bowel movements, me'ashran, it makes you, I think, strong.
Energy.
Yeah, it gives you energy. Velo mifankan, but it doesn't make you somebody who can only eat. Mifunak in modern Hebrew is somebody who's spoiled, right? It doesn't make you somebody who can only eat fancy food. Yeah. Right, so it means the same thing here as well. Amar Rav, so Rav says, Achal Tamarim al Yoreh. If you eat dates, you should not give Yoreh. Rashi says, Shum Hora, don't give any rulings. Lefishet Tordos Daito Kashikor. Because after you eat dates, you're intoxicated a bit. It's as if you're drunk. Sumeisve, is that true? Is it so bad for you eating these things? Tmarim shacharis ve'arvis yafos. Eating them in the night and during the morning is good for you. But mincha raos, if you eat in the afternoon, it's bad for you. But saharayim ain't kamosan. But it's great to eat it in the afternoon, referring to after lunch, essentially. Umavatlo shlosha dvarim, and they are able to remove three things: machshava ra'a, bad thoughts, choli me'ayim, stomach illnesses, v'tachtonios, and hemorrhoids. So the implication here is that it's good to have dates. So how can you say that you can't give a hora afterwards? So he said, okay, miyamrin delo ma'alu, ilave ma'alu. Who said they weren't good? They're very good for you. However, lefi shaita tirda. However, at the moment, after you eat them, it doesn't mean you're at 100% capacity in order to give a hora. Right? Wine can also be good for you, but still, you're not allowed to give a judgment after you drink wine. Damarmar hashose revis yain al yoreh. If you drink a revis of yain, you can't. You're a bit intoxicated. You're not allowed to give a ruling, issue a ruling.
After you eat lunch, also, you're kind of like tired. Also.
No, it's better to eat after lunch.
No, I'm saying to give judgment after lunch. After judgment afher lunch, you're a little.
No, you want to add on. You want to add on
to get rid of.
Okay, maybe. Or else, another suggestion is if you eat the dates before your afternoon meal on an empty stomach, or it's almost like drinking wine on an empty stomach, then it's not so good for you. Right? Halavasar nehema. But if you drink it on a full stomach after the meal, then it's already not so bad for you. Da'amar Abaye. Abai said, Amra li aim, my mother taught me, Tamri mekami nehema, eating the dates before the meal, kinarga ledikula, is like taking an axe to a palm tree. Basar nehema, but after the meal, ki avra ledasha, it's as if you're, passing through the door. It's good for you. Eat your dates and drink your wine after the meal, not before the meal. Amarava, so some more etymology here. Derech sham, Dasha, thank you. Dasha, Amarava Derech Sham. Why is it called Dasha? Dasha is referring to the door. Why is it called the door? Because Derech Sham, that's the pathway to the house. Darga, referring to a ladder. Why is it called Darga? Amarava Derech Gag, because God is the Derech up to the roof. Puria. Why is a bed called Puria? So Amarapapa Sheparin Veravin Aleha, because that's where man and woman are intimate and they procreate. So Puria from Prurvu, and Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Afanan. We can also get in on the fun. Af Anu Nelmar will also say Ilonis, and Ilonis again is a woman who is not able to have children. So why should call Ilonis? Duchranis Delo Yalda. It's referring to a ram, a male ram who is not able to have children. Okay, everyone have a great day.